Talk about the Beatles or something.
Scott.
Hi. Hi, everyone. Welcome to our live
Well,
here with Adam and Lindsay.
Howdy, howdy.
I'll let you guess which one's which. Anyway,
Good one.
we wanted to come on and do another live tonight and talk about, are you an alcoholic?
Yes.
So, Lindsay, are you an alcoholic?
Okay, let me take this one there, Scotty. Let me get in here.
I think we just need a straight up down answer.
Oh,
How are you gonna answer this?
no.
Ooh, very nice.
Yeah, no answer. No,
Oh,
I'm not.
How about
I don't.
let's do the yes or no answer first, and then we'll
Okay.
go back and explain why. Adam, are you an alcoholic?
Not anymore. No.
What?
Hmm.
I
I are not either.
Scott is not either.
Yeah, I are not either. So, Lindsay, why are you not an alcoholic?
all right. This is where I'm gonna shine, baby. Okay.
We got some spunk going on tonight. Let me tell you.
Oh, it's just it's been one of those days.
I mean, I was gonna go a different direction, but okay.
Do you want to go in a different direction?
No. I
Don't
went.
you dare.
No.
Okay. So the reason that what?
To the lowbrow humor. Never mind. Just go.
I don't get it. I don't know what lowbrow means. So I was God damn it, you got me distracted now. The reason that I don't call myself an alcoholic anymore is because it's not, well, there's a lot of reasons. It's not a medical term. It's used in the disease model community, like fellowships, like 12-step. The word actually originated from a 12-step fellowship. And it says in the DSM, which the DSM is a diagnostic criteria, it says alcohol use disorder, and then there's every drug has its own decimal and like the system for insurance billing. That's what it's for. And I could go like in depth about it, but I don't want to do that right now. But honestly, the reason is because it doesn't matter. Like it's like an arbitrary line that I could, and I used to get out the big book and I would say, are you an alcoholic? You need to decide for yourself and you have to answer yes to these two questions. Yes. Do you drink more than you wanted to? Or what it says, if you earnestly try that you can't control the amount that you drink, or can you not stop when you start? Can you not know when you're going to stop? So like, obviously that's a yes for me, dog, for both. So that's it though. That's how you do it. And so that's it. Like, you know what I mean? Like what? So, okay. So then if I say I'm an alcoholic, that means that I can't drink according to the 12-step model.
Sure.
I mean, it doesn't exist outside of that technically, right?
Yeah.
Right.
And so my issue is not so much just with the definition or calling myself an alcoholic. It's more with helping others. That's what my drive is with it. And I know you guys is different.
When we're right now, for the context of this conversation, are we talking about alcoholic as in somebody who still has a problem with alcohol and is in the process of trying to get sober, or somebody who is in the process of recovery?
I think that it's used both, honestly. It's used both.
It is used both. It is used both. I'm just saying for what I think what
either were.
So at this point in my life, I do not consider myself an alcoholic, because the definition that AA puts on it does not apply to me. And then the stereotypical definition that society uses as it does not apply to me. I, not by any chance, I'm not saying that should I start drinking alcohol, I no longer have a problem with it. There's a difference there. But the term alcoholic really only applies inside the rooms. And so like you were saying just a minute ago, with when I went to school, the DSM-4 had just Oh, no, I just come out. But anyway, it was the DSM-4,
Probably.
the Diagnostic and Statistics something manual. Yeah, that thing. That psychologists, psychiatrists use
$70, bro.
to diagnose mental disorders, diseases, stuff like that. And I was taught that there was alcohol use, alcohol misuse, and alcohol abuse. There were three stages. And so fast forward a few years and I get into treatment and they start asking me questions. They're like, well, with the DSM-5, you have alcohol use disorder. I said, wait, there's only one now? There used to be 3. Which you want to hear a really funny story is when you're sitting there in an intake chair and you're kind of like, kind of detoxing in the chair, and then you start talking to them in their own language from a behavior and health standpoint. They kind of look at you funny. You go, yeah, I have a degree in this stuff. And they go, ironic, huh? So from a standpoint of what is the definition of an alcoholic, I think if you're wrestling with, am I an alcoholic? Then I think what we're trying to say is it really is up to you to figure that out based on your own consumption, how your life's going. And you don't have to really justify whether or not you want to quit based on anybody else's definition.
Yeah, because it's not even, I mean, what even defines it outside of the room? And like, what's an alcoholic? Just those 2 questions in AA is what is supposed to, define you as that. But outside of the rooms where it's really not even a thing, but it's used as a thing. If I said something to you like, oh, I'm an alcoholic. Oh, that means that you drink 3 pints a day and blah, blah, blah. And you only drink this hour. Like, how do you define it? There's no commonality, like common agreement on what an alcoholic is. There's alcohol use disorder in the DSM for the insurance companies, which says like, if you have this and this, oh, thank you. Manifested by 2 or more of the following. In a 12-month period, alcohol is often taken in larger amounts or a longer period than was intended.
There we go. Sorry.
And it sounds similar to like the alcoholic definition, but it's not used in medical. So then people trying to argue, like last week, I saw people arguing about alcoholic being not the disease model or something. I don't know. It's like, what the fuck? I don't want to get lost. Oh, sorry. I'm getting lost in like the little bits of it. What my goal of this video of the topic was to, like Adam said, that it's a waste of time, if you ask me, to even ask yourself if you're an alcoholic, because it doesn't fucking matter. It doesn't matter. You don't have to be an alcoholic to quit. And
that's right.
What even is it? I had a client that not too long ago that she would some days say she was going to meetings every day and like doing what she was supposed to be doing, right? Like for all intents and purposes, like, and she said, I don't feel like an alcoholic today. Like I just, I'm struggling with identifying as that. Like I don't want to be an alcoholic. Well, I'm like, why? Well, if I'm an alcoholic, then I can't drink normally and I want to be normal. And I'm like, okay. So obviously we talked about that more. So it's like her idea was if I am not an alcoholic, then I don't have to quit drinking, because if I'm an alcoholic, I can't drink moderately, but if I'm not, then I can. You get what I'm saying? So it kept her in more denial. Like she kept trying to drink moderately and then convinced herself she was drinking moderately because she she didn't want to actually, she wanted to quit, but didn't want to do it. Do you get what I'm trying to say? Like,
I think I understand what you're saying is that
it was used as a deferent.
Yeah. She knew she had a problem. She wanted to cut down, stop drinking. Basically, she was hung up on the term alcoholic and quitting because she had the hope that someday down the road she might be a moderate drinker.
Well, she didn't stop drinking. she never stopped. So it was like almost every day. And the thing that got me was when that was like keeping her going. That was like her belief. Her belief was that if I'm not an alcoholic, then I don't have to quit because I'm normal. Yeah. And so then she needs to be convinced that she's an alcoholic to even take a step further, when really I said to her, what's your relationship like with alcohol? Do you like it? Do you have problems in your life that you don't want? How do you feel about it? Do you feel like it's interfering in any way? Do you want to change the relationship you have with alcohol? And it's like, yeah, you can't really, if you do, you do. If you don't, then don't change. Because you don't have to change if you're an alcoholic. Nobody says you can't drink or you can't drink. It doesn't matter. Do what you want to do. I don't know. I'm just saying, I'm just like, in my mind, I'm just like being open-minded about it and kind of like how I think all of the labels and arbitrary nonsense doesn't do anything. I think it keeps people stuck.
I gotcha. What do you think, Scott?
Well, I think that when you have a book that presents a view on something, and I think, when people buy into what it's selling, I think that they will jump on whatever they can jump on. When you Google the definition of alcoholic, the first definition that comes up, it says containing or relating to alcoholic liquor. So I don't.
Yeah, that's a pretty good one.
Yeah, so I'm not containing or what was the other one? Containing or relating to alcoholic liquor right now. So by definition, I am not an alcoholic.
True.
So words are important, right? And I'm not sitting here to be this. I had to Google it to make sure, but I always like to do that so that I get a better understanding of what these words mean and if we're using them improperly. So if you go to the second definition of it, it does say affected with alcoholism. And then so when you read when you read the definition according to Google of alcoholism, it's an addiction to the consumption of alcoholic liquor or the mental illness and compulsive behavior resulting from alcoholic dependency.
Yeah.
What is addiction defined as? Well, we've defined it in a broad sense, but a lot of people don't know that.
I completely agree with pretty much everything that Google defined it as.
Yeah,
and I also state that using those definitions, they don't apply to me anymore.
Right, and I don't think it has to. I don't get the I don't get the push to once an alcoholic, always an alcoholic. Now, I get some people have to do that.
Right.
It is working for them, and it's worked for them for decades or years or whatever, and that's what works for them. And as the three of us always say, I'm not going to put words in your mouth, but I think it's fair to say that we are all supportive of however you get clean and sober, or whatever that means to you, or get into recovery is probably the better word, and whatever recovery means to you. That's what's important. So I don't need to call myself an alcoholic for the rest of my life to understand what the hell I did. I'm not going to forget it.
That's true.
If I don't call myself an alcoholic for a week, I'm going to forget the 4 OWIs. I'm going to forget the heartbreak and shit that I caused in my life. No, that's not going to happen. So no, I'm not an alcoholic anymore. I've been alcohol free for a long time, and long can be subjective too, but that's okay.
Well, I think from the context that we were originally talking about this topic before we went live, it was kind of centered around somebody who might recognize that they have they get issues with alcohol. They know that they're drinking more than they want. And I think what the original intent was to say, you don't have to be defined by anybody's definition of alcoholism. If you feel like you have a problem with alcohol and the hang up is calling yourself an alcoholic because of how it's viewed in society, don't worry about it. All you have to understand is that the intent behind stating that, hey, I'm Adam, I'm an alcoholic, the intent behind that phrase is that you are verbalizing that you have a problem with alcohol. Yeah. And so I think if you understand that, you truly understand that and you believe that, then calling yourself an alcoholic doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Oh, good.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, and that brings in the whole real alcoholic thing too, because a real alcoholic, all that means is that it's someone who, that's what's so weird. It's defined as an alcoholic in the big book. So it's like a real alcoholic is, and they just put a description there. But what I'm saying, it's like, it's all whatever. It's all like, who gives a shit? And it doesn't matter. And it's just like, I think it's something that keeps us apart. It draws lines between us. And I'm not about that anymore. I used to be about that.
So
Ego and all.
yeah, so how about this then? So are you saying that if you can go into a bar and control your drinking, can you still call yourself an alcoholic?
I mean, I think that you can call yourself an alcoholic if you want to, because
Yeah, exactly.
what is an alcoholic? I don't even know what
Well, so you go
your
in and you
definition
have
is different than mine.
yeah, you go in and you have 4 beers a night, and then you go home and you stop at 4 beers every single night. But those 4 beers are starting to wear you down, or you're coming home and smelling like alcohol in your breath, and your significant other is like, for real again? Oh, you just dropped another $30 on 4 beers? Those 4 beers and that controlled drinking is still causing a problem in your life.
Absolutely.
So you could call yourself an alcoholic if you want. I think you're fully able to do that. But you also can just say, yeah, I have a problem, or you can say whatever. Just my point is we start to nitpick, and we are like hell bent on creating labels and putting ourselves into groups so that we can feel like we're a part of something. And I get that, and that's great, but I think it keeps some people out because you don't fit their criteria, and that's what's bad.
Good.
So I think
Very good.
I think the intent behind our conversation earlier, and I maybe I wasn't picking up on it, was you don't necessarily have to be the real alcoholic that AA describes in the big book. That some people, I'm a real alcoholic. You don't have to. You can be the person who goes out and tries some more controlled drinking per the big book. You don't have to have all of the boxes checked per the big book definition in order to seek recovery.
Right. Like I'm saying, it shouldn't even be like combined. If you ask me, from years and years and years, the first thing I would ask a sponsee, I would ask the 2 questions, and it was real serious shit, bro. So the first thing is, if they're not an alcoholic, we don't work the steps with them because they don't need the spiritual solution to stay sober. So that's why it's so important in that world. Right. Well, I don't know. It's just how it goes.
Yeah.
But I see now that there are a lot of people in that are not considered alcoholics, and they are kind of like, there's certain speakers I used to listen to, like speakers, and I really liked them, but they would get on there and say, you're killing people, that those people are killing alcoholics because they're saying, go to meetings, meeting makers make it. And that's not what they need. They need a higher power, and they need the 12 steps. And that's kind of people that I was around. Like, think about how fucking obnoxious I was. That's so ridiculous. But it's like saying, like, if you can stop on your own, then you shouldn't be here, and you shouldn't sponsor anybody, you shouldn't do nothing or tell any alcoholic what to do, because you don't need the spiritual solution that us real alcoholics need. So that's why I don't know if people understand that, or
You should talk to the professionals who have completely lambasted their life and thrown everything down the shitter. And, they were cured by sitting in a room, drinking coffee, talking to each other about it. Those are the quality ones. And I know, you know what, I'm going to get heat for that, but that's okay, because that's the truth. I know it works for some people, but to say that somebody who doesn't fit your criteria shouldn't work with people or help anybody out, if they got something good to say, then they need to say it, and they need to be heard. But that goes for everybody. And there's another thing that's in the realm of some of these conversations, is that now my mind went blank. Fuck. You can't. Oh fuck! I completely forgot my train of thought on that. But it's just, everybody can benefit from something. Oh, I remember what it was. It was that people are too stupid to to see bullshit when it like the majority of people can handle somebody saying something that's not right, and they can tell that. I know that there are some people that are so desperate they'll do anything whatsoever to get sober. I know those are cases, but the fear of that doesn't justify silencing other voices. Like, I think somebody with 6 months of sobriety has something to say because they did it for 6 fucking months, and that's hard to do. I know, because it was really fucking hard to do. And I only did it one time, and that's on the stretch that I'm on now. So I think they do have something to share. And just somebody with 3 months has something to share. And that's why I keep the podcast door open to anybody. I had Dan on that was like a week sober because he's got something to share because he's in the middle of that shit. Yeah, it's great. You got 40 years. That's phenomenal. You know what I mean? But I want people in the thick of it. I want to hear it. I want to hear now. Like, I'm going through it, dude. I'm going through it so bad. Like, I would kick a kitten for a beer or a shot right now. That's what I want to hear. And I think everybody should have a voice.
That's what I want to hear. I'm sorry. No,
Don't
I like
call
that.
PETA. I'm not advocating
Hide
kicking.
your kittens.
Oh shit, that got me good. Well, I think I think that that was an excellent point because that's a whole nother thing, the time thing. It's a hierarchy within, and I don't like it. And it's like determining someone's worth by how much time they have, and like if their opinion, if you're going to listen to their opinion or not. And that's why I don't even tell people my sober date. I don't tell them shit. It's none of your fucking business. But yeah, no. See, and like, I don't care if that's great. Like, if people, I love when people share their sober date and they're super excited about it. It's just not something I do. It's just different. I don't want to, you know what I mean? So when I say I do this and this is my preference, it doesn't mean I'm saying whatever else is bad or I don't like. So I think that's kind of like common that people may think. So I don't want to, and like, if you need the definition of an alcoholic, that's great. If you call yourself that, that's great. I did for a long time. I don't like it anymore because I started thinking of myself as less than, and that meant more to me. It's like, it shifted at that time when I had years sobriety, and like, I don't know, my recovery changed, my life changed. I changed, it's just how it goes. And it's okay to change the program. It doesn't mean that you're fucked and that you're going to relapse and die.
Yeah, very true.
Like, let's stop doing that shit and telling people what they need to do because you really don't know. These people don't know. I'm going to go. Stop.
I was trying to think of a way to pull it back to the question, but
I knew I was going to get heated.
Yeah, so let's try to bring it back then. So are you an alcoholic? And I think that we've covered it, that you are if you say you are, you aren't if you say you aren't.
True.
It is a self-diagnosed thing.
Yeah.
Because you can't have somebody else diagnose you, because they could be already prejudiced to the whole damn thing anyway.
Yeah.
So,
well, the only reason that there's a diagnosis to begin with of alcohol use disorder is for insurance purposes.
Sure.
Well, that's the only reason that really exists. To me, it comes back to, if you can answer the question and you start looking at your beliefs and your identity and everything, if what you're doing, the action of consuming alcohol, is causing you concern, it's causing problems, you just are not sitting well with the quantity that you're drinking, how you're drinking it, the effects of it, and you want to stop, then by all means, if you understand that and that alcohol is part of the problem, then get help, seek help, however you want to do it.
Right. Exactly.
Whether you put a label on it or not.
And don't let that get in the way.
I'm not a sugarholic. I got a problem with sugar because I was eating ice cream earlier. But hey, I didn't eat the whole pint.
Oh, hey, yeah.
I could have.
That worked for me too. I was like,
Oh, yeah.
I only drank 3/4 of the fifth. What the fuck?
You're
I still got like a couple shots in my half gallon, man. I didn't.
Yeah, I didn't drink it all.
because
Oh.
that means you're not
Okay,
alcoholic.
We kind of need the terms alcoholic and alcoholism in our society, though, especially in the medical side, because, like you guys just said, you can't get funding to get help without these terms. So
Sure.
it's a good thing that we do have them, but it's, I mean, as long as it's, not as long as, because that's too definitive, but if it's in regards to getting medical help, I think they're important. And that's, we have some people on our feed, one in particular that just has this, watch your words, Scott, has an issue with addiction and alcoholism and alcoholic and things like that, But if we didn't have these things and these words, I would have never gotten the help that I was able to receive. So it would scare me for a strong push to eliminate like the disease model and that type of thing. And I know that's not what we're talking about, but alcoholic and disease kind of go hand in hand to start eliminating some of these words that might be detrimental to the health of it. Because at the end of the day, it's mental health issues, right? But you have to assign something to that also, right? Like, so when I do the ASAM or whatever, when I'm doing that stuff at work, there has to be, there's mental health there, but I also have to put alcohol use disorder or cocaine use disorder or, I have to add something in that because of our facility.
Right.
And so.
But not alcoholic. You never do that?
It's always alcoholic. It's, I always label everything substance use disorder. And then when I have to, alcohol use disorder.
Yeah.
Right.
Break it down to that.
So this is a great example of something. I was in class today. It's just a great example of a topic, a concept we call Orboths.
Huh?
Just an Orboth. Is it this? Is it this?
Oh.
Or both? They're both right depending on the point of view, the perspective you're looking at. So, great way to tie that together there. Yeah.
Hell yeah, man. Yeah, it's just I like everybody's different opinion on that because it doesn't matter. We're all different, and as long as we are getting help, I think that's all that really matters.
Absolutely.
I think discussions like these are good. So if you're willing to have a discussion and you're willing to learn, we can do amazing things. And that's kind of where that's what I try to do. When I post things and people are like, oh my gosh, let it go. And that doesn't happen very often. But like today, I post like I posted a poll about if you've had a sponsor, has it been positive, negative, or just want to see the score or whatever I put, you get some kickback, like what kind of question is this? Well, it's a question to get out there because I'm planning on talking about it at some point.
Yeah.
To have a discussion because, I might think that sponsors suck, or I might think sponsors are the way to go. Right. And then if other people are like, if it's like 50-50, kind of like what the poll was looking, then that stands to have a discussion. And then, we can grow by learning and talking about it.
I'm honestly surprised it's 50-50. Huh.
Well, it's not 50-50. It's the last I looked, it was 49% positive, and then all the other votes went into the other categories. So half the people either had a negative or they just wanted to see the results. Right? So it's not, that was wrong of me to say it like that, but half the vote, the votes are split between those three things.
Gotcha. Okay. Very interesting. Very interesting.
So I guess if somebody is like upset when the three of us are saying that we don't call ourselves alcoholics anymore, I guess you have to ask yourself why.
Hey,
why is it,
that brings you back. Yeah, that brings you back to one of my favorite topics. If you're upset about somebody else, whose fault is that?
Right. Because we can't make you feel any certain way about us. You have to make that decision, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So if you think this is stupid and whatever you feel, that's you feeling that. That's not us making it that way. Because my decision, that decision to not call ourselves that is our own. Yeah. And that will only affect us.
Right.
Damn, bro. I think you're onto something.
Right. Well, it's, it will only affect you. So earlier today, I was listening to my boy Peter as I was driving home from Atlanta. And he said something, and we're talking about reality and reaction, and I can say this right. I had to like put my phone on video and video my thoughts so I remember them. Of course, I didn't read it or listen to it, but basically, the discomfort that you feel in life is your reaction to external circumstances.
Mhm.
Okay, so we have this tendency to go, man, I am really pissed off about that situation,
Yep.
where I am really upset about this or that person. And it's not that situation that is what's upset. It's not upsetting you. Dakota, you'll like this because those things can't control you. All right. And so once you finally realize that the discomfort you feel is a byproduct of your own thought process, then and only then you begin to hold space for that and understand that, and you can actually be free. And so to me, if drinking is your reaction to an external circumstance, then your sobriety cannot also be a reaction to an external circumstance.
Oh,
Can I answer?
right on.
Can
What's
I
up?
answer this? Sorry, no, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Okay.
Are we done?
Yeah.
Oh, you done?
No, I thought I was jumping in at the end. Are you
Go
sure?
ahead. Yeah.
No, I want to answer Dakota's question.
Go for it.
Well, I don't think it was a question. I think it was a statement. So the first part, there's no such thing as an alcoholic in a strict sense, as they don't have the free will or choice to say no to the alcohol. Why you're conflating the two, though? There's no such thing as an alcoholic, and then you're relating it to because in a strict sense, as they don't have, because we know that that's demonstrably, what is that word? Demonstrably, stupid, disproven time and time again in many ways. I don't know how they relate to each other, because you weren't on here, were you? Alcoholic is strictly from AA. It's not medical term at all. And it only exists in the AA world, technically. So, as they don't have the free will or choice. No, nobody's ever said that nobody has a free will. Wait, what? As they don't have the free will or choice to say no to alcohol. No, nobody, I don't think anybody ever says that. How would you get sober? What does that mean? Do you guys know?
I know where he's going, but I'll let
I
him.
know the argument that he wants to make, but
Yeah.
But it doesn't matter what some argument someone wants to make. It's what argument is there written.
Yeah.
that's true.
Well, I mean, that's how I approach it,
Yeah.
because I don't understand. Anyways.
Yeah. So kind of like just not to like avoid that, but to go back to what Adam was saying, and I think we said it before, you don't react to things, you react to your perception of things.
Exactly. Exactly. And so the choice to drink and our urge to drink is our own reaction to those external circumstances.
Ooh,
So then
damn right.
if our reaction is to drink to an external circumstance, what we're doing by applying what I call an external sobriety program, I've mentioned this earlier on X and got a few questions. An external sobriety program is a replacement reaction. Okay, this is where I make the distinction between the steps and the meetings. Because when you hear somebody say, oh my God, I need a meeting, what that's saying is life is so bad that I cannot deal with how I feel about it. So I need something to do to react with to those external circumstances. And so when I make the difference between external sobriety and internal sobriety is I have worked on me so much that I no longer react to those external circumstances.
Yeah.
I'm accepting of them. And that's where acceptance comes in. And I think acceptance is the whole key And at some point, we'll talk about the little A and big A acceptance. But
Yeah. Well, I've been kind of working on something that I want to do a podcast about. But it's kind of like to give a little snip of it. I think a good way to explain it is I drink over a perceived problem, and I get sober over a perceived purpose. So if I have a purpose, then I can get sober, because when I was drinking, I didn't have purpose. I just had a bunch of problems. So I had to dig inside, and I had to find who I am and what I wanted to be, and find purpose.
Yeah.
And one of those things is this podcast and doing these with you guys and diving into recovery. Like I'm on my phone at work, and somebody says something to me, I'm like, yeah, but it's all recovery, bro. I'm talking to this guy that needs some help, or I'm looking up this, or I'm researching this, I'm reading this article, like I found a purpose.
I completely agree. So
Yeah. Maybe we should. Well, it could get into it. I mean, I don't think addiction or alcoholism is ever defined as uncontrolled or out of your control ever. I've never heard that as part of any definition. And I've never heard of intensified habit of a substance repeatedly done. The definition of alcoholic, as far as I can gather, addiction, as far as I can gather, is repeating the same behavior despite consequences.
quite negative consequences. I mean, that's how we used it in the yeah. What's it say, Scott? I know you're looking it up.
Yeah, I'm looking it up. It's the fact or condition of being addicted to a particular substance, thing, or activity.
Oh, you
Stupid.
Google should know you can't define the word with the word.
Yep.
What do you expect that much from Google?
Yep.
Ask ChatGPT.
It.
Well, that's the thing too, is like all this shit is like, it's subjective. Like there's different definitions from everything.
So addicted is physically and mentally dependent on a particular substance and unable to stop taking it without incurring adverse effects.
I don't like
I
that.
would say you could make it physically and mentally dependent on a particular substance, person, place, thing, behavior, and unable to stop without incurring adverse effects. So you could easily say that somebody who's a stalker, they're addicted to their perception of stalking.
Yeah. A runner's addicted to running.
Yeah.
A fisherman's addicted to fishing. I mean, you could throw it. You could throw the label on anything. So I think when you're bothered by these things, you're more bothered by a group of people and how they're addressing it, not what is reality.
Yeah.
Like I don't think. I think it's more of a problem with
Right.
a group of people and how they present it, not reality.
But, and this brings up a point that we never, at least I don't ever really talk about it. You guys might, is in what you do with your jobs, but there is the physical mental dependency, and then there is the problem we're all trying to solve. The physical and mental dependency is easily solved. Okay, all you have to do is abstain. Everything will eventually reset itself as far as the physical and mental dependence goes. The mental dependence is a little bit harder and longer to do, but it will reset. But the problem that has caused you to seek an external solution that happens to be something that's highly, highly, highly addicting, meaning that you become physically or mentally dependent on, the problem is much more slippery. You can't talk about it in terms like we can actual dependence.
Mhm.
And
Right.
so
Good point.
we kind of when we talk about recovery, I think we tend to gloss over the biological side to it and talk more about the spiritual, psychological, side. And that's where we spend a lot of our time with beliefs and identity shifting and stuff like that. But as far as the physical, mental dependence, there is that side there, and that's what the medical community, as far as when we talk about an naltrexone method, that is very much the physical side.
Yes.
And it's it's leveraging the ability to kind of put a damper down on that dopamine spike, and a few other different neurochemicals. So
Yeah. Well, I used to always define it as this, and over the years though, I'm open for change, but I used to think this is how I defined an addict would be a person that does not get psychologically dependent upon a drug. I don't believe this anymore because I still believe you can become psychologically dependent on a drug now because it changes your brain chemistry. It's proven. Um, I used to think if they're able to stop physically and do not have that longing for it, which it can be a good indicator, right, of someone who's a so-called addict, whatever that is.
So, I mean, in the beginning of my drinking career, I would say up until about 6 years ago, had you been able to, like, before my life got into what I called the shit, just
Yeah.
there was no life, I had no definition, no purpose. Up until that point, I was drinking to the point of it being a massive habit, but I became physically dependent on it. Didn't even really understand that I had. And so, I was just physically dependent. But then my life, and actually unrelated to alcohol, just on other choices with career and my ex-wife's job and everything, my life took a turn where I was unfulfilled in all aspects.
Mm-hmm.
And so then the alcohol became an easy solution to feel better. And then that's where the belief problems and all that stuff was uncovered. Now, those problems still existed, but they hadn't manifested into being a problem via alcohol. The belief I keep talking about, it's okay as long as they don't get caught, was still down there somewhere, but it just was lying dormant. It didn't have anything to act on. But now, once I've got this highly addictive substance that is just spiking my dopamine like crazy, that I'm physically dependent on, when I try to quit that, dopamine's like, fuck you are. And so now I've got an underlying belief that allows me to go, you know what? It'll be all right. I can have one. And so that's how in my mind, they kind of tie together.
That's a good explanation.
Not to derail this, but I can just, I feel that 100%. You know what I mean? Like, it wasn't just, it'll be all right. It was like, this is what I have to do. To feel something. And I knew what was going to happen when I bought the half gallon and I started chugging out of that thing. You know what I mean? It was going to be pass out city. And, but I didn't care. I had to have those few moments of that dopamine, of that excitement, of that relief, whatever you want to add to it, man. I had to have it, at that point. There was nothing else that was going to give me what that felt like it was giving me. There was nothing, because I had such a hole, such a void, that I had to fill it with that crap, and the dopamine was all I had left. Everything else was gone. Yeah.
Good point. Just sitting here thinking while you're talking about that, of how I literally knew that something crazy is gonna happen, but it's like I needed it. Like, I would die if I didn't get my drug. That's how my brain felt. That's crazy.
My great grandmother, when I was going through this, was like 97, 98. And I remember coming home and from treatment, and then I fell off the wagon like immediately.
Mm-hmm.
And my sponsor told her to take my truck keys. And so this old woman took my truck keys and hid them. And I remember one time I was detoxing on the like, I was okay for a while. I was detoxing on the couch. And I was like, fuck it, I'm never doing this again. And then I started to feel a little bit better. Puking slowed down. And I was like, I need my keys. No. I'm going to call the cops and tell them that you took my keys. Go ahead.
I love it. I love it.
I tried that. I did call the cops one time, and they're like, well, you're fucking drunk, so you can't drive. They're like, your mom took it to keep you safe. Okay.
Sorry. I just had to throw that out there.
I love it.
Did you come up with what you were trying to say? No?
Me?
Yeah.
What?
Just a second ago, you said I'm sitting here thinking about something.
Oh, no, I said it.
Oh.
How I thought I was going to die if I didn't get my drug and alcohol. Like, I literally felt that way.
Well, I mean, and that is very just, I mean, that's the physicalness of the dopamine.
Yeah.
That's just how that works. It's that survival instinct of, the whole point of dopamine is to help you remember things in the future that help you survive. Like you walk past the bush 1,000 times, there's no berries on it, and all of a sudden you walk past it and the berries are there. Your brain will remember that.
Yeah.
And then the next morning you anticipate the berries so you can survive.
Damn,
right?
True.
I mean, that's the whole point of the system.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah. So we don't have to go find berries to survive anymore. And we have things that skyrocket and hijack that system. So that's what makes it easily physically dependent.
Who was the lady? It was Brene Brown. She was talking about how, I'm pretty sure it's her, how dopamine, we receive the dopamine hit from, the stories we tell ourselves. Whenever our brain like completes, it makes the loop and completes the story of whatever it is, it's like we're getting dopamine. Hence probably why I was like, I try to figure stuff out, right? It's like, and then when you figure it out or whatever, it's like dopamine. But she said, even if the story that you're telling yourself is false, you're still going to get that dopamine. So she's like, what is the story you're telling yourself? And that kind of relates to all the limiting belief stuff to me.
Yep.
It's crazy.
Yep. Absolutely.
And that goes on our reactions too. Cause like I react based on what? Like my beliefs and everything that are already in there. What?
Yeah. You do.
No, but it's so crazy, man.
Yeah. That's why that's why I always am talking about if you can find the underlying belief that is controlling the thoughts, which is controlling the feelings, which is controlling the behavior, you can change the underlying belief, you change the behavior.
I think more or less now that we've been talking about it so much, I feel like how would you change if you don't do that? Like permanently, at least. I don't know how you could.
You just said it. My point exactly. This is why I throw these up every now and then. It's like if you're in AA and we took away the steps and we took away the meetings and we took away the sponsors and we took away the service work, and you don't have anything else that you identify with as your recovery program, how long will you stay sober? There's people out there that will stay sober. But I think there are I shouldn't say infinitely, there are exponentially more people who will eventually go back because they never actually address the root problem. And this is what I keep saying is that the steps stumbled onto something that works for some. And I think the steps will eventually, given enough repetitions, address that root problem for some people.
I think it's good grease to get the wheels moving. You know?
Yeah, I agree with that as well.
I think that's fine. It's to get the thoughts going and the willingness. If you're willing to go through the steps and to share with a complete stranger some of the things that they ask you to share, I think that will open the door to hopefully 100%. Later finding a professional to talk to about it. You know what I mean?
100% agree. 100% agree.
Yeah, I could go on a spiel about that too.
I want to know if there's anybody anybody listening that wants to throw something in the chat, ask a question, tell a story.
Yeah,
or I could put in my Venmo and you can send me some money.
Oh yeah, hey.
I mean,
money. I mean, that's all we're here for. I mean, we're not making a dime right now, but that's all we're here for.
That's right. At least that's what I keep getting told.
Yeah, me too. I mean, that's just nonsense. See what I did there?
I haven't been told that for a while.
Yeah.
Right, you haven't pissed off the right people. So.
I know. One day. One day.
Said from that individual said something about from safety guru to a corpse or cadaver or something like that. He said the other day, and it's like, yeah, dude,
That's wild.
You know, it's always the people with the biggest fucking egos that have a problem, and it's like the irony is so thick and disgusting that it's like it really is pointless to even try to have a conversation. And this dude that I'm talking about, well, it's because like we have it on lockdown. We know what you're doing, and it's not going to work. You're going to go back, and
What?
if you don't do it our way, this is what they're saying in between the lines.
Oh, okay.
If not directly saying it.
Yeah.
They have it shoehorned, and they know exactly what you need to do in order to stay sober. If you don't do it their way, you're fucked. And by saying that, I mean, that is some tremendously huge ego, because it's not true, because there are plenty of people that have done it way different than you have, and they're living a very happy and successful life. You're just willingly ignoring it, or you're creating your own rules and saying, well, they weren't really having a problem anyway. But anyway, I don't want to get way off in the weeds again, but this person in particular, I invited on the podcast like 12 times now, and does not respond to that comment ever, but it will bounce around and respond to other. It's just weak. I'm not looking to call the guy on and try to make a spectacle. I want to have a discussion. Like, why do you think this? And let's talk about it. And why are you so hell bent on acting this way? You know what I mean? So
I think me and Adam were talking about, I think it was last night, we were talking about how people's identities become the way they get sober, or just like religion and politics, and so they feel like, I think that they feel like they're being attacked personally. I don't get that, but I mean, I don't understand that, but I don't confuse my identity with the way I got sober. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
And it's,
well, I mean, so we're obviously kind of gone away from the "are you an alcoholic" topic. So
I don't want to talk about it anymore anyway.
I don't feel bad about going this way, but so I have this theory. Haven't really fleshed it out too much. I mean, I have, but I haven't really put it out there much. So this whole concept of the internal versus the external sobriety, I've talked about. I think the people that are most offended by someone else getting sober and not using AA are probably the people who are constantly applying a Band-Aid to their wounds. The steps and the meetings and everything are surface level bandages that keep them from drinking. And they know that as soon as that's taken from them, that's all there is.
and if you look at that, if that is true, which I'm not saying it is, but it sounds pretty damn accurate to me. You're never really getting anywhere.
Right.
Just, you're just plugging holes. And so I don't want to live like that. I don't want to plug holes. I don't want to have to do the steps for the rest of my life. I don't want to have to sit in a room every single day, dependent on if a newcomer comes in or whatever it might be. I don't want that for my life. That's not the recovery I'm looking for.
That's exactly what I said.
Yeah. Freedom. I want freedom from this shit. And when I stick around and I talk about recovery and I do the podcast, that's a choice to give something back as gratitude for what's been done for me. And I'm not, I say it all the time, and I don't think any of us are like this, that I'm not trying to tell you anything of what to do. I'm just giving you what we've done and what we think. You take it or leave it, and I wish you the best.
Yeah. I don't want to be the arbiter of truth anyways. I don't want that responsibility.
Well, remember what I said last night about the way your brain works? Your brain doesn't recognize negatives. It only recognizes the subject of your thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're always constantly thinking about not drinking, what are you always thinking about?
Drinking. Mm-hmm.
So that's why I said I want my recovery to not fucking worry about it.
Dude, that's some good shit. Sorry, I got to say that.
No, go ahead.
I got to reiterate that, man. Say it again. If you're always thinking about not drinking, you're always thinking about drinking.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Just think about that for a second. If you've made it this far into this son of a bitch, just stop and think about this for a second. If my entire life revolves around not drinking or, fighting this imaginary demon, that is all you're thinking about. Guess what I don't think about all day? It ain't fucking not drinking.
That's exactly right.
It's thinking about what can we talk about on the podcast. It's thinking about what what's going to happen in WWE this week, and I watch with Miley. I wonder what my kids are doing. And then all the real life things too that are, man, that was good shit. I shut it down. That's all we fucking need. That is a mic
Pound
drop.
it.
That's fucking good shit.
Well, and
Yeah.
that's what it's like. If they say don't think of the blue elephant or whatever, and you're like,
Well, it's that reticular activating system. If you want to go from the physical side, that's what it is. That's what it does. So whatever you're constantly thinking about, it's going to prime the system to give you more of that from an input standpoint. So if you're constantly thinking about not drinking, all the things you're going to do to not drink, you're going to see all the things around you that have to do with drinking because your brain doesn't process negatives.
Yeah.
So you're going to see all the liquor stores. You're going to see every Budweiser billboard. You're going to see everything.
Yep.
But if you're not worried about it,
That's freedom. That's
Right.
recovery. That's
that's why I call it effortlessly sober.
yeah. Hell yeah.
freedom.
Great shit.
Freedom.
Lindsay's singing.
No,
Well,
we're wrapping it up.
Yeah.
Cue.
that's our outro music.
Freedom. Woo!
Thanks for coming, Lonnie.
Yeah. Thanks, Lonnie. I hope all is well.
Woo! Sorry.
Everybody
All
else
right.
that's still listening, the 6 people that are still listening, thanks for listening.
Thank you for coming.
Yeah, and don't be afraid to comment on one of our pages if you liked what we said or didn't like it, because we are all about discussion and learning.
Yes.
Right, guys?
I will have a discussion with you all day long.
Hell yeah.
Mostly.
All right. Well, until next time. Peace.
Adios.